Hi, I'm Mike DiFiore, and today I'll be comparing the Häussel 59 pickups with Monty's P.A.Fs. So this is my 2005 Gibson Les Paul Standard. It's seen a few changes over the years, various electronics and hardware changes, some of which were obviously pickup changes. It started off with Gibson Burstbucker Pros, which I quickly swapped out for a Seymour Duncan Distortion Mayhem set with all sorts of fancy wiring. I then got very heavily into Martin Knopfler and started searching for something slightly less destructive. I found the Häussel 59 pickups recommended on a Martin Knopfler forum, and I just went for them. Häussel is a boutique manufacturer based in Germany who now supply pickups to the likes of Nick Huber. I had a look online though, and I don't seem to be able to find them anywhere anymore, so I'm not sure what's going on there, so if anyone knows, please let me know in the comments. Anyway, I've loved these pickups, but there was still something missing that I couldn't put my finger on. I first came across Monty's pickups in yet another article about Martin Knopfler. This time I was very intrigued as I found out they'd actually built pickups for Martin Knopfler. Obviously that was a big deal for me, so I started following them on social media just to keep an eye on what they were doing. Anyway, fast forward a couple of years and I've been watching loads of Matt's videos, had some work done on my Les Paul at their place down in Acton, and I pretty much decided I wanted to try some of their pickups. So I've ended up with a set of P90s for a project guitar, video coming soon for that one, and a set of P.A.Fs for the Les Paul. So the big and obvious difference is that the Häussels are wax potted, despite being a P.A.F style pickup, which is a bit confusing, and the Montys aren't, which is more consistent with the original Gibson P.A.Fs. So today I'm comparing the two. I recorded the Häussels, then swapped the pickups over. The old strings went straight back on too. I tried to be as consistent as possible, so I've recorded the signals as DIs and I reamped them all together. There may be some loss of tone through the DI and reamping process, but this was the fairest way to capture the sound. This was my input signal chain, so the guitar through the DI box into the 8-pre, and this was my signal chain sending the signal back through the amps. So I recorded them into Pro Tools using a Shure SM57 and an AKG C214. I used my Dutton MD30R head for the clean and crunch tones, and a Marshall JCM 800 2203 for the high gain tones. The Marshall went through a Bad Cat leash to make it usable. It really doesn't like being used at low volumes at all. And there's no EQ or compression or anything on the tracks apart from a touch of reverb just to open it up. One thing to mention, in reality, to account for differences in pickup outputs, you'd adjust the amp settings to get the sound you want. I didn't want to touch the amps, as this is a variable that's hard to control precisely, so I matched the clip gains of the two pickups in Pro Tools for consistency. I think that was the fairest way to do it, but either way, I feel I should mention it as an intervention. The clips are very similar riffs, so that we can get used to what I'm playing and focus more on the sounds of the pickups. I think that's enough talking, so let's get started. Okay, so the differences are quite subtle when listening back, although the more I listen, the more I can hear the difference. For me, I think the biggest difference is the Montys are brighter in general. They've got a more detailed attack, more bloom, especially noticeable on the lead lines, which is definitely something that works for me. They're more open sounding, whereas the Häussels are tighter and more focused. The bridge pickup jumps out as the biggest difference. The Monty's is fuller, and I actually enjoy using it, which, if you know me, is a big deal because I usually hate bridge pickups. I will mention that the Monty's are lower output of the two, but as discussed earlier, I matched the gains of the DI signal so that the amps responded in the same way to both. Initially, I did try without the adjustment, but the difference in output left the Monty sounding comparatively weak on the cleans and crunch. But to reiterate, in practice, we'd just turn up the preamp on the amp to get the sound we want, so that wouldn't really apply. So yeah, I mean, both sets of pickups sound great. The Montys have the edge for me just because of that detail in the attack, and I'm not scared off by the high end, as it doesn't come at the expense of warmth down below. I'm keen to know your opinions, so please let me know what you think in the comments. That's all from me. See you next time.